This is what happened. In a bustling town deep in Africa, where the sun always shone brightly over vibrant markets and warm smiles were as common as the colorful fabrics that hung in shop windows, there lived an extraordinary woman named Mama Zawadi. Mama Zawadi was known throughout the region for her remarkable skill as a milliner. She fashioned the most beautiful hats in town, hats that were not only practical under the blazing sun but also works of art that told stories of tradition and hope. But Mama Zawadi was much more than a maker of hats. She was also known for her wisdom, her sparkling wit, and her uncanny ability to bring people together. For years, she had served as an informal matchmaker, gently nudging hearts toward one another with her subtle suggestions and knowing smiles. One fine morning, as the town of Mchanga began its daily dance of commerce and conversation, Mama Zawadi stood on the steps of her little shop. The aroma of spices, roasted maize, and freshly brewed tea filled the air as the townspeople hurried by. With a confident smile and eyes that shone like polished beads, she announced to anyone who would listen, "Today, I bring you news that will change lives forever." Her voice carried across the square, drawing the attention of old men playing chess under a large acacia tree, children chasing each other around market stalls, and even the busy traders who paused to listen. Mama Zawadi explained in a clear, ringing tone that she would hold a grand competition, a contest like no other, one in which 103 young men, each with a distinguished profession and proven character, would be chosen as husbands for one very special lady. The plan was as audacious as it was unconventional. These young men, who had spent their lives excelling in various fields, medicine, engineering, business, the arts, and more, were expected to come not as arrogant elites but as gentlemen willing to embrace a new way of life. The winners would not simply become husbands in the traditional sense. Instead, they would join together in a single, shared household under the guidance and leadership of a remarkable woman who would rule their home with wisdom and compassion. At first, the people of Mchanga could hardly believe their ears. Whispers broke out along the dusty lanes. "Did you hear? Mama Zawadi is planning to marry 103 young men," some would say with a laugh. Others giggled and shook their heads, convinced that the idea was nothing more than a joke. The thought of so many husbands under one roof seemed utterly absurd, and the notion that these men would perform domestic tasks, cooking, cleaning, massaging, tending to the poor, and more, was met with even more ridicule. Gossip spread quickly, and for several days, the whole town was abuzz with laughter, teasing comments, and incredulous looks. But Mama Zawadi was not one to be deterred by laughter or gossips. She had seen much in her long life and knew that true change often began with bold ideas. In a voice both gentle and firm, she declared that those who doubted her plan were missing the chance to see something truly magical. "Sometimes," she said, "the most unexpected paths lead to the most beautiful destinations. I believe that love and partnership can come in many forms, and I am giving our community a chance to redefine what it means to be a family." In the days following her announcement, news of the competition spread far and wide. At first, only a handful of curious young men approached Mama Zawadi's shop, and many still laughed at the idea. They boasted of their professional success and dismissed the competition as a whimsical stunt. "I have built my career, and I do not need to waste my time on such nonsense," one young doctor remarked as he adjusted his fancy suit. "My place is in the hospital, not in some shared household," declared an ambitious engineer. The initial response was one of derision, and for a time, it seemed as though Mama Zawadi's idea might fade into the background as nothing more than a passing joke. Yet, as the days turned into a week, something unexpected began to occur. Instead of the small trickle of interested candidates, a veritable flood of young men started to appear at Mama Zawadi's door. Word had spread to neighboring towns and even distant cities that a competition of unmatched scale was being held. One morning, as the sun rose in brilliant hues of red and gold, Mama Zawadi's courtyard was filled with an astonishing sight. Over 1,000 young men, dressed in their best fancy suits, had gathered. They came from all walks of life, successful professionals with impressive resumes, each one boasting not only their career achievements but also their manhood and pride. They were confident, self-assured, and each believed that he had what it took to win Mama Zawadi's grand contest. The scene was surreal. Rows upon rows of young men stood shoulder to shoulder, their faces lit with anticipation and excitement. The air was thick with the hum of whispered aspirations, the rustle of creased suits, and the occasional burst of laughter at an unexpected remark or playful gesture. Even the market vendors paused in their walk to watch the spectacle, marveling at the sheer number of hopefuls. Mama Zawadi, ever graceful and composed, welcomed each one with a nod and a warm smile. "Welcome, my dear boys," she said, her voice carrying a hint of mischief. "Today, you have a chance not only to win my favor but to prove that true strength lies in the heart, not just in the body or the mind. Show me that you can be gentlemen in every sense of the word." For the next several days, the competition unfolded in Mama Zawadi's grand compound. Her courtyard was transformed into an arena of tests, each designed to evaluate not only the candidates' professional skills but also their capacity for kindness, cooperation, and humility. One of the first challenges was a culinary contest. The young men were tasked with preparing a traditional meal using only local ingredients. The rules were simple: they had to work in teams and create a dish that honored the culinary traditions of their land. Some groups stumbled at first, burning spices, overcooking stews, and causing fits of laughter among the onlookers. Yet, as the hours passed, many began to show their true colors. They worked together, shared ideas, and slowly produced meals that were rich in flavor and heart. The aroma of simmering sauces and fresh bread filled the air, and even the most skeptical onlookers had to admit that there was genuine passion in every dish. Another challenge was the masseuse marathon. Each candidate was required to demonstrate his ability to give a relaxing and comforting massage. This test was not about brute strength or professional technique, it was about gentleness, empathy, and the ability to care for another person's well-being. The task proved to be both humorous and moving. At first, many of the men were clumsy and awkward, eliciting chuckles from the crowd. Yet, as they persevered, some discovered a hidden talent for soothing tired muscles and easing pain with a caring touch. In these moments, the true essence of being a husband, caring, nurturing, and supportive, shone through. There was also a challenge that paid homage to Mama Zawadi's own craft. The young men were asked to design and decorate a hat worthy of being displayed in her shop. Using materials provided by Mama Zawadi and drawing upon their own creative instincts, they crafted hats of all shapes and sizes. Some were extravagant, adorned with feathers, beads, and bright fabrics; others were simple yet elegant, reflecting an understated sense of style. The competition was fierce, and the courtyard became a riot of color and creativity, with each hat telling a unique story of hope, humor, and individuality. Throughout the competition, Mama Zawadi moved among the candidates like a wise guardian. She offered gentle advice, praised moments of genuine teamwork, and occasionally laughed along with the crowd at the absurdity of it all. Her presence was both comforting and commanding, and even the most boastful of young men found themselves humbled by her wisdom. "Remember," she would say in a soft but firm tone, "it is not enough to be successful in the world. True success is measured by the kindness you show and the love you share." As the days passed, the initial excitement gradually gave way to intense determination. The first round of challenges had whittled down the number of hopefuls from over 1,000 to a more manageable group. Each candidate now fought not just for victory but for the chance to prove that they were more than just their professions and their flashy appearances. They wanted to show that they could be compassionate partners, men who were ready to embrace a life of shared responsibilities and genuine care. Finally, the day arrived for the final selection. In a grand ceremony held under the wide, open sky, Mama Zawadi gathered all the remaining candidates in her fancy courtyard. The atmosphere was electric with anticipation. The once mocking gossip had given way to respectful silence as every person present sensed that something extraordinary was about to unfold. With all eyes on her, Mama Zawadi began her address. "My dears," she said, her voice resonant and full of wisdom, "today we witness the triumph of the human spirit. Each of you has shown that you possess not only the talents of your professions but the tenderness of a caring heart. Out of all the young men who have come before me, I have chosen 103 who truly embody the virtues of strength, humility, and love." A murmur ran through the crowd as Mama Zawadi named each of the 103 chosen men. Their names were spoken with pride and reverence. These men, who had once boasted of their achievements in their sleek suits and confident postures, were now recognized for something far more important, their willingness to embrace a life of shared love and service. But Mama Zawadi's plan was not yet complete. She announced that these 103 young men would become the husbands of one very special lady, a lady renowned for her wisdom, grace, and strength. That lady was Queen Adizwa, a woman whose beauty was matched only by her intellect and her kind heart. Queen Adizwa was not a princess by birth, but she had earned the love and respect of the community through years of hard work, compassion, and unwavering integrity. Many had sought her hand in marriage over the years, but she had always held out for a partner who would share not only her successes but her burdens. Now, with Mama Zawadi's bold plan, Queen Adizwa would finally have a home where love was measured by shared responsibility rather than by the weight of tradition. The announcement sent ripples through the crowd. Initially, there were gasps and even a few skeptical chuckles. How could one woman possibly be the wife of 103 men? But Mama Zawadi explained that in this home, each husband would share equally in the daily tasks of running the household. There would be no division of labor based solely on old customs. Instead, all would come together to cook, clean, maintain the garden and pool, and care for one another. In this new model of family life, every task was a shared act of love, and every role was valued equally. The grand ceremony was held in Mama Zawadi's decorated compound, with colorful banners, rhythmic drumming, and the sweet melodies of local singers filling the air. The 103 chosen young men, dressed in their finest suits, stood proudly as Queen Adizwa was escorted into the courtyard. She wore a flowing dress in brilliant hues of red and gold, her head adorned with a delicate tiara, and her eyes shone with both determination and warmth. As she stepped forward, the crowd fell silent, all eyes fixed on this moment of union between tradition and transformation. One by one, the 103 young men knelt before Queen Adizwa and took an oath, a promise to honor her, support her, and share in the joys and struggles of their new life together. Their voices rose in unison, a powerful chorus of hope and commitment that resonated across the compound. "We pledge to serve with our hearts and hands, to build a home filled with love, laughter, and understanding. We are not defined by our past glories, but by the promise of a shared future." The words echoed in the hearts of all who listened, dispelling any lingering doubts about the unconventional arrangement. In the days that followed the ceremony, the chosen husbands moved into a grand estate prepared especially for this new family. The estate was a sprawling, beautiful home surrounded by lush gardens, with a large pool glistening in the sunlight. Inside, every room was designed to foster a sense of community. There were common dining halls, quiet reading nooks, and even a workshop where the men and women could create art together. The atmosphere was one of cooperation and joy, as everyone worked together to build a life that celebrated both individuality and unity. At first, there were moments of awkward adjustment. Some of the young men, used to a life of individual success and recognition, found it difficult to adapt to sharing everything so openly. There were humorous incidents in the kitchen when a well-meaning but clumsy chef ended up with flour on his suit, and in the laundry room when a pair offered spontaneity. In the mornings, the men would rise early to tend to the garden and prepare breakfast together. One group of engineers used their technical skills to set up an efficient water system for the estate, while a group of artists painted vibrant murals on the walls, each depicting scenes of unity and shared hope. In the afternoons, some men would take turns giving relaxing massages to each other after a hard day's work, while others would practice traditional dances or help care for the elderly in the nearby community. Even the pool area, once a symbol of leisure for the few, became a place where everyone gathered to cool off, share stories, and plan for the future. Queen Adiswa, as the heart and soul of the household, led with both strength and compassion. She organized weekly meetings where every member of the household could speak freely about their ideas, concerns, and dreams. Her gentle but firm manner ensured that every voice was heard and that decisions were made collectively. "Our home is built on love and respect," she would say, "and each one of you is essential to making this dream a reality." Under her leadership, the household not only ran smoothly but became a living example of how tradition can be reimagined for a new era. News of this remarkable experiment soon spread beyond Changa. People from neighboring towns and even distant cities came to visit the estate, curious to see how 103 husbands and one wise lady could create such a harmonious home. Many who had once scoffed at the idea began to admire it. Journalists wrote articles, and storytellers began weaving the tale into local folklore. It was said that Mama Zawadi's vision had sparked a quiet revolution, one that challenged the old ways of thinking about gender, duty, and family. Over time, the household evolved into a model for others. Fathers began to share more of the household tasks with their families. Schools started teaching children about the importance of cooperation and mutual respect. The once rigid divisions of labor gave way to a more flexible understanding of partnership. The success of Queen Adiswa's home became a beacon of hope for a future where love and respect could overcome tradition's constraints. Mama Zawadi, now in the autumn of her years, often sat outside her little shop, watching as the estate bustled with life. Her heart swelled with pride at the sight of so many young men learning that true strength lies in service, not just in the accolades of professional life. She would sometimes wink at passers-by, saying softly to herself, "I told you so." Sometimes the wildest dreams bring forth the most beautiful realities. The clamor of communal work had long since ceased, and the only sounds were the soft rustling of palm fronds and whispered voices. In hushed tones, they spoke of a new ambition, one born not out of the noble desire to serve Queen Adiswa and honor their shared household, but from a simmering envy and a hunger for personal gain. "I have been thinking," began Nuru, a suave young man known for his charm and cunning, "we have all worked so hard here, day in and day out, tending to the home, cooking, cleaning, and doing all these tasks that, though they honor our union, keep us bound to this life of labor. What if we could change our fortunes? What if we could be free of these duties and claim a share of Queen Adiswa's vast properties?" His words, whispered in the dark, sent a ripple of excitement through the small group. Others leaned in closer. In that moment, the memory of their individual successes, careers once defined by ambition and pride, sparked a desire to reclaim some of that lost glory. They began to murmur ideas of divorce, of dissolving the union that had once seemed so promising. "Think about it," added Jabari, another husband whose eyes shone with a mix of greed and hope. "We are 103 strong. If we walk away from this marriage, perhaps the law of our land would let us split the property amongst ourselves. Imagine the wealth we could have, a life free of domestic labor, filled with luxury, leisure, and power." The idea grew like wildfire among them. In secret gatherings held in poorly lit corridors and behind closed doors, the husbands discussed in detail how they might approach Mama Zawadi with a demand for a divorce. They planned to gather evidence that could justify their decision, a report of minor mismanagement here, a disputed expense there, anything that might be used to convince the wise old matchmaker to break the union. One evening, as they huddled near a small, neglected fountain in the back garden, an elder among them, Kofi, who had always been more reflective than his peers, raised his voice. "My friends, before we decide, let us consider the union we formed. Mama Zawadi did not merely join our hands with Queen Adizwa for personal gain. She envisioned a home built on trust, respect, and the sharing of every joy and burden. Our agreement was not a simple contract, it was a sacred bond designed to uplift all of us." But Kofi's words were drowned by the promise of riches and ease. "Riches can change our lives," insisted Nuru. "We could finally live as we once dreamed, not tied down by endless chores. We could use our talents to build empires of our own. Who among us would not want that?" Despite Kofi's caution, the majority of the conspirators began to lean toward the idea of divorce. They set about discreetly drafting a plan. They would approach one of their trusted legal advisors, a man known as Mr. Beo, reputed for his deep knowledge of local customs and the intricate laws that govern marriage and property in their land. Under the cover of night, a small delegation, led by Jabari and Nuru, slipped away from the estate and met Mr. Beo in a dimly lit room of an old building near the town center. Mr. Beo listened carefully as the young men laid out their scheme. They spoke of reclaiming what they believed was rightfully theirs and dividing the estate's vast wealth among the 103 husbands. His brow furrowed as he considered their words, and after a long pause, he spoke slowly. "My dear friends, the union you entered with Queen Adizwa was not like a simple marriage contract you may dissolve at whim. Under our customary laws, the properties and wealth of the household belong to the union as a whole, not to any individual. If you divorce, the law stipulates that the entire estate shall revert to the communal holdings. Essentially, no one will receive a share." His words fell heavy on the conspirators. "What do you mean, revert to communal holdings?" questioned one of the younger men, his tone laced with disbelief. Mr. Beo explained, "When Mama Zawadi arranged your union, she did so under a sacred agreement, a contract blessed by our ancestors and bound by the customs of our people. This contract ensures that the union is inseparable. Should any husband choose to dissolve it, the wealth accumulated within this home is not divided among the divorcing parties but is instead dedicated entirely to the continued welfare of the household. In short, if you divorce Queen Adizwa, you will receive nothing for your personal gain." The room fell silent as the magnitude of Mr. Beo's words sank in. Nuru's eyes widened, and Jabari looked down at his hands, as if suddenly realizing the folly of their ambition. One by one, the conspirators began to murmur among themselves, a growing sense of regret mingled with shame. The promise of riches, so enticing in the darkness of their secret meetings, now seemed a hollow and fleeting dream. Later that night, as the group reconvened in their shadowed corner of the estate, the mood was somber. Kofi, the voice of reason, gently placed his hand on Nuru's shoulder. "I warned you, my friends," he said softly. "Greed often blinds us to the truth. We must remember why we entered this union in the first place, not for wealth, but for the strength of our community and the honor of serving together." Nuru, his ambition now tempered by the reality of their situation, sighed deeply. "I suppose we were so eager to regain our former glories that we forgot the value of what we have. This union, with all its challenges, has given us more than just a roof over our heads, it has given us a sense of purpose and belonging." The conspirators slowly dispersed, each returning to their daily tasks with a newfound understanding. The idea of divorce, once so seductive, lost its luster as the weight of tradition and law reminded them that their collective well-being was greater than any individual gain. The communal contract, steeped in the wisdom of their ancestors and sealed by Mama Zawadi's bold vision, was unbreakable. Queen Adizwa, wise and perceptive, soon became aware of the hushed conversations that had taken place. Rather than reacting with anger or retribution, she chose to address the matter with the gentle firmness that had earned her the respect of the entire household. One evening, as the family gathered for a communal dinner in the grand dining hall, she stood and spoke softly but clearly. "My dear husbands, she began, her voice carrying both sorrow and understanding. I have heard whispers in the dark corners of our home, whispers of discontent and dreams of wealth that could tear apart the unity we have worked so hard to build. I want you to know that our union was not formed for personal gain. It was formed out of a shared vision of love, cooperation, and mutual respect. The property we share, the wealth we accumulate, is not meant for any one person to claim but for all of us to nurture and protect. If any of you would choose to break our bond, you would not only lose the benefits you enjoy but also the very essence of what makes this home a beacon of hope. Her words, filled with wisdom and care, echoed in the heart of every listener. The room was silent as each husband contemplated the truth of her message. They understood then that the strength of their union lay not in the promise of riches, but in the honor of their shared journey, a journey that had already transformed their lives in ways far more valuable than any material wealth. In the weeks that followed, the atmosphere within the estate grew even more harmonious. The incident served as a turning point, reminding every member of the household that their collective future was built on trust and the enduring power of unity. The 103 husbands, once tempted by the allure of individual gain, now found themselves deeply committed to preserving the legacy that Mama Sawadi had envisioned. They worked with a sense of purpose that was both renewed and refined, knowing that the real treasure was the home they had built together and the love they shared with Queen Adizwa. Even as whispers of divorce and personal gain began to ripple through the corridors of the grand estate, there was one man who refused to be swayed. His name was Kofi, a quiet, sincere soul known for his gentle smile and unwavering integrity. While many among the 103 husbands started to entertain the idea of breaking their sacred bond with Queen Adizwa in hopes of claiming a share of the estate's wealth, Kofi's heart remained true to the original promise of unity and service. I have seen, Kofi said quietly, that when we work together, we create something lasting, something that enriches us far more than any bank balance ever could. Let us not allow selfish ambition to cloud our vision. Let us stand together, as one family, and honor the promise we made when we first joined this extraordinary union. As Kofi's words echoed in the cool night air, some of the conspirators felt a stirring of conscience. One by one, those who had been tempted by the lure of personal gain began to reconsider their plans. The allure of wealth, once so seductive, now seemed empty compared to the rich sense of community and belonging that they had all experienced under Queen Adizwa's leadership. In the days that followed, the atmosphere in the estate grew even more harmonious. The honest conviction of Kofi had sown seeds of doubt among those who had once been swayed by greed. Conversations that might have once veered towards schemes of divorce and division now turned back to discussions of shared dreams and collective progress. Slowly, the idea of breaking their sacred bond faded, replaced by a renewed commitment to the original vision, a home built not on material gain, but on the strength of unity and the enduring power of love. Queen Adizwa herself noticed the subtle change in the air. During a communal meal one crisp evening, she looked around the grand dining hall, filled with the familiar faces of the 103 husbands, and smiled gently. "It warms my heart to see you all remembering why we came together," she said softly. "Our home is a sanctuary of hope, not a marketplace for personal gain. Each one of you is a vital part of our family, and together, we create a future that is far more precious than any wealth." Her words, combined with Kofi's steadfast example, inspired a wave of honest reflection. The conspiracies dissolved into sincere cooperation, and the household continued to flourish as a beacon of innovation and unity, a living testament to the idea that true strength lies in togetherness, and that every individual, regardless of ambition, plays a part in the tapestry of a shared destiny. Thus, amid the challenges and temptations of a world driven by individual desires, Kofi's unwavering integrity stood out as a shining light. His honesty reminded everyone that when hearts are joined by trust and mutual respect, no force, no matter how powerful or seductive, can ever break the bonds of true partnership. And in the grand, vibrant community of Tandora, that lesson became a cornerstone of their shared legacy.